Thank you so much for joining us on this week's Good News. We are sitting down with Cindy from Coalition for Kids, and she is here to talk about all the good that they are providing right now for our community. So, Cindy, can you tell me a little bit more about what you are doing right now at Coalition for Kids and how Coalition for Kids is really providing a much-needed service for our community right now?
I sure will, and thank you for letting me come today. This is
definitely
exciting. First of all, Coalition's been around for 22 years, so we've been doing pretty much the same thing for many, many years, and that is we are an after-school faith-based education program that is involved in every Johnson City school with the exception of Science Hill. And what we're an educational facility that we bring children to our facility and help them with their homework. We give them a full meal. We mentor them. We educate them. We help them. We're a friend to them. We keep them safe, warm, and loved while they're with us.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. So what specifically because you were talking a little bit earlier about how you all are tutoring kids and everything. What does that look like? Because with the pandemic and, a lot of virtual schools and everything, I know personally my son's it's been crazy difficult working full time and trying to help and trying to relearn, second grade, which is a lot more difficult than I remember. Could you tell us a little bit about what specifically you're doing to help the kids, that are virtually learning as well?
Yeah, well, we kid at Coalition right now of being very flexible, of turning on a dime, and we have done that since March of last year. We had to shut down for just a little bit, with all the pandemic, and we still continued our summer program. But what happened in Johnson City, when the children typically would go back to school, they didn't, and they needed somewhere to go. Yeah. So literally within a week, we were open from 7:30 to 5:30 the entire month of August to allow our parents somewhere to have their kids while they went to work. And what we found and what I learned from being just in the classroom is how extremely difficult it has been for these kids to learn Zoom and virtual learning. You take a kindergartner, first, second, third, fourth, it is harder than you can imagine. Yes. And for our teachers that have to manage through all of that is very, very hard. Yeah. So what has happened is there's been an even deeper, what we call summer slide. And a summer slide is when a child is off of school for 60 days. What they have found, it takes about 6 months to catch up. Oh, wow. So you can imagine what's happened now. That summer slide has gotten even bigger. So the need for homework help for our children has grown in the past 8 months more than it ever has been because of this. It's hard for the kids to learn like this. And I think that most educational systems will say, we're behind. Yeah. Our kids are behind. And learning has become more difficult for our children because of that. So where I come in, I work with volunteers coming from high schools, from colleges to get service learning hours. Sometimes people just want to come and volunteer. Yeah. But what we need is for folks that would be willing to come into a classroom and be a homework tutor. It is very, very simple, but we need folks that would be willing to do that between the hours of 3:30 and 5:30, Monday through Friday. We have about 300 students in 3 different sites right now, but our main campus is where we would need our volunteers. It is a great experience. It's not an easy experience because what will happen, what we have found is that the volunteers get attached to our kids very quickly. Yeah. The kids get attached to our volunteers very quickly. Some of are having to learn Common Core math. Yeah. And that's not easy. No. That's not easy. No. But my wish is I wish I could have a volunteer for every one of our children to give them the one-on-one attention that they have. So what we do is, during that time, we want to make sure that their homework is done and done correctly. We feed them a full, wonderful meal. We have great cooks at Coalition for Kids, and then we take them home. Okay. And so when they go home, the stress of having to get homework done, or having to cook is minimalized because we get that done at Coalition for Kids. Our mission is to help kids grow in wisdom, and that is what we strive to do, is to help the kids get better grades.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that. I mean, that is good news, what you all are doing.
I think it is, yes.
Coming from a parent's aspect too, it's like my
Right.
son Ezra is 7. He'll be turning 8 this year, which is crazy to think all of it to get together. But
Yeah.
trying to teach him and doing the virtual learning, and thankfully Carter County is back in person for most of the time. But it was hard. It was hard, and we're definitely
has been.
a lot of catch up. So what you all are doing, being able to provide that additional support for not just the teachers, but also the parents, because we're having to try to learn Common Core math too.
Exactly.
So that is amazing. And you said you're in need of volunteers right now.
Absolutely.
How can someone contact you who maybe wants to volunteer? Maybe
Okay.
they're going to school and they need their service hours, like you were saying,
Right.
or they just want to help out. How can they contact you for that? And then how can someone, if they're like, hey, I live in Johnson City and my kid's falling behind, I'm working full time, my husband's working, or my wife's working full time as well, so we just haven't been able to, how do they contact you to maybe see if you have any openings for their kids? How are those different ways to contact you?
Okay. Well, first of all, with me, just go onto our website, and it's www.coalitionforkids.org, and you're going to see a volunteer tab.
Okay.
And if you click that, it's going to pull up the application, fill that out, and then there's a submit button at the bottom. Hit that, and that will come to me, and I will contact you within 24 hours.
Okay.
Get you in. We have a brief interview, and we talk about expectations and some policies that we are having to abide by right now with COVID. And I can get you in very, very quickly. We work with a lot of high school students. They need 40 hours of community service. We are happy to redeem those. College classes, my goodness, so many of them require service hours, and we are very grateful for that.
Definitely.
Because we have a lot of students from ETSU, Northeast State, Milligan College, Science Hill High School, Davy Crockett, come and redeem those hours. But we still need more people. We still need more people to come in and help. As far as a parent that needs their child in Coalition for Kids, they would need to contact Asia Gardner.
Right.
Now, I believe that on the website that's on there as well.
Okay.
And you fill out that application, and then she will contact you about getting you a spot there.
Okay, perfect. And I'll have all the links to this. If you're listening to this and not watching, this is on YouTube. So make sure you come on over to WCQR on YouTube, and we'll have the links to the contact page and everything. So if you want to volunteer, the links will be there. If you don't remember, maybe you're driving right now and you're like, I don't know what that was. Where was
Write
that?
them down.
Just come to WCQR and you can find the links for everything there. Now I'd love to know. I love stories. I love hearing stories, and I feel like stories just really connect us with they bring stuff to life. So I would love to hear how maybe a child or even a volunteer has been impacted because of what you all are doing for Coalition for Kids.
I'm glad you asked that, because I just spoke with one of our volunteers that's become a dear friend in addition to being a volunteer. And I asked her, I said, write something up for me that can explain your experience here at Coalition. And what she wrote was endearing. It teared me up. It was beautiful on how she was able to relate to a couple of little girls in her class that, let me see how I would say this, were in an environment that was not very healthy, not very conducive to studying, and they had told her how much of a difference they had made in helping them study. She said, they told me that I made studying fun, that they enjoyed coming to Coalition just to see her, that they enjoyed learning because she made what they were doing fun.
Yeah.
So from the kids' part, from the volunteers' part, the comment she made is, this place has changed my life and has changed how I look at volunteering and on giving back to my community, especially children in need, especially children that need educational help in this pandemic. Her story was beautiful. there are so many of those stories from volunteers that sit in my office when they do their exit interviews saying, this wasn't the easiest place to volunteer, but it filled my heart with such joy, knowing that when I left here, I was full. They go home and they tell their parents, they tell their classmates, which in turn, which is also one of the best ways that we have to talk to people about Coalition for Kids is word of mouth. Yeah. And a lot of that comes from our volunteers having a really, really good experience. We want to make sure that when they're there, they are highly appreciated. They are honored. We treat a lot of them like staff because they help us so much. Another story that I have was from a young man that changed his major. Wow. Changed his major from an environmental study to social work. He decided that that's what he wanted to do with his life instead of his original major, and he's in his junior year, so that takes a lot of courage to do something like that. Sure. But he came in and told me about it, and I was so pleased to hear that not only the effects that our volunteers are having on our children, but our children have an effect on these volunteers as well.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love hearing that.
Me too. I love the stories. I love them.
That's amazing. I love it because I feel like we always have this desire to be a part of something bigger.
Absolutely.
And knowing that just volunteering, it's like, oh, I can tutor. It might not sound like a big deal, but it is.
Right.
You're not just tutoring. You're not just helping these kids learn. Yeah. You're being a positive influence in their life. You're creating moments and memories that this child will know for the rest of their lives.
100%.
And so you are now going from just being a tutor to being a, part of someone's life changing.
Integral part of their life, yes.
Yeah, and that's amazing.
I have one more story of being a faith story.
Okay, awesome.
I was in the cafeteria with a group of nursing students from ETSU, and sitting at the cafeteria table was one of our site tutors and a little boy. And the site tutor had the little boy's hands, and the little boy was crying. And unfortunately, I thought he's gotten in trouble because our site director was speaking pretty firmly to this little boy. I couldn't hear it, but they sat there about 15 minutes, and I was standing in line, and the little boy came over to me and tugged at my coat and said, "Miss Cindy, I've got to tell you something." So I bent down, and he said, "I just asked Jesus into my life." So I'm all excited. This may have been my first or second year at Coalition. So I go into our executive director's office, Randy, and I said, "Randy, you're not going to believe what happened yesterday. The greatest experience. Joe was talking to one of our kids, and he accepted Jesus in his life." And Randy just smiled. And he said, "Cindy, that happens around here all the time." Wow. So it's wonderful to work in a place that so affects children, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and all the things that we can do to love the children that are with us.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
It was a great story.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate it. I would like to give you one more opportunity. I kind of do this every time. I'm springing this on you, so
it's okay.
To give you just a moment to share your heart, to share anything that God has been just putting on your heart this season. I just want to kind of give you a couple minutes to kind of share that if you'd like.
I have been in the business world for 45 years. Worked in corporate living for a long time. And this may sound very cheesy, but I feel like I have been making my way toward Coalition for many, many years. I hope to work there until the day I die. It has been an experience for me to be a part of their mission into helping kids grow in wisdom and in the favor of God and man. That's part of our mission statement. And to see how hard our teachers work to work with these children, to work with children from backgrounds that these children need some help. Yeah. It's not always like that, but to see the love that they put into them, the time that they put into them, to our staff that is always there for not only the site directors, the kids, but you see them bringing them shoes or taking them to the movie. It's always over and above. We have been so blessed this past year, and I don't want to say because of the pandemic, but people have been so giving in our community to support what we are doing at Coalition. And it takes, it takes funding to run a facility this large. One thing that I have been so proud of as I have worked there is the way we spend our money.
Yeah.
And looking at the way nonprofits, have to, pay administration and bricks and mortar. 24 cents of every dollar is only administration. 76 cents goes to our children. And that is one thing that makes me very proud to work at Coalition is the way we not only manage working with our children, we manage the gifts that God gave us with funding and grants. But the people of our community have been very supportive of us.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing
it's
that.
It's made a difference in my life. It has helped me grow in my faith. I hope that it has made me more compassionate toward everybody.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you so much for
welcome.
sharing
You're
that.
welcome.
And thank you for coming on the show and really sharing all the good that you all are doing right now. Now, again, if you're listening to this and you're wanting to be a part of all the good that Coalition for Kids is doing, make sure you contact Cindy. I'll put the links in the description of this video, so you can go to their website. It was just Coalition for Kids. Is it .org? Okay, so coalitionforkids.org. You can find their website, click on the volunteer page, and you can be a part of all the good that they are doing right now.
And if you can allow me to add one more thing, we are hiring.
Oh, awesome.
So
okay.
Let me add that, and that's on our website as well, the volunteer information, getting your child in at Coalition, but we are hiring. So, yes.
Awesome. Very
cool. I wanted to throw that in as well.
Okay. Well, we'll have the links to everything in the description of this video, so make sure you come on over to WCQR on YouTube, and you can find the links of everything and watch just all the good that you all are doing right now.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.